Hi everyone! Thank you for joining us today for our special webcast series where we're highlighting the new Autodesk software. Today we'll be demonstrating Autodesk Stingray. Our presenter today will be Kiefer Paulson from CTC. Before I hand it over to Kiefer, I do want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. First, you'll notice you're all on mute. If you have a question, please type it in the question queue and we'll answer it at the end of the demo. This session is also being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Kiefer.
All right. Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. Thanks to Laura for organizing this. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of outline for you what the Stingray game engine has to offer, a couple of the key differences between that and, say, Autodesk Live or Enscape, and then quickly go over a little BIM to game engine workflow that I had developed for this. So, yeah, my name is Kiefer Paulson. I've been with CTC for a little over a year as a visualization specialist. I've graduated with a degree in 3D art and animation. I have some experience in the Unity game engine, the Unreal, various modeling, texturing, animating softwares. And yeah, I'm just really excited to show you guys what this Stingray is all about. So, Stingray is a game engine, and by definition, a game engine is a real-time rendering software. And what that means is that all the still images that normally you'd have to wait, 10, 20 minutes to render out of Revit or any other program, instead of just a single still image, you get all of the models, all of the material information, everything that you pumped into that 3D model to make look beautiful in a render is now viewable at real time. And that's what a game engine does. It parses all that information so that you can walk around, you can jump, you can add audio sources, things like that, and it's all running at real time versus a rendered animation where you have to scrub through a video or just looking at image after image after image. So it offers a truly interactive experience. And with Stingray, and any game engine in particular, it's limitless interactivity. I can't stress that enough about how you can literally do anything inside of Stingray or a game engine versus like Autodesk Live or Enscape or Fusor, where they create an interactive experience that you get to play through, but you don't get to create the interactive experience for other people to play through. And we'll get into that in the demonstration. It'll make a little bit more sense in a little bit. Stingray also offers a simplified scripting solution called Level Flow. It's very similar to the Dynamo node-based editor or the new material editor inside of 3ds Max, if some of you have seen that. It does that for the scripting process, and the scripting is how you add interactivity to your game, because essentially you're building a game that your client is then playing. That's what the visualization project would be. And also it falls under the Autodesk umbrella of softwares for kind of a pipeline workflow, and that's just simple, like one-touch solutions to go from this software to another one and back and forth. And it just truly offers a way for a project or a team to work on a project all at once at different aspects in the pipeline to deliver a final product. So you might be asking yourself, why Stingray? Why would I need a game engine to help with my building informational modeling process, or BIM process? Well, as addressed before, still images are just not enough anymore. In an industry that is constantly being dominated by the newest software, something new is completely, never before seen, images just aren't enough anymore. You can look at a rendering of a building for hours and hours, but you're still not going to know what it feels like to walk up to it or to open the door, or what sound the door makes when it squeaks open. Is it clean, anything like that? Stingray, as a game engine, it allows you to create those experiences that would really help communicate to your clients and sell the model without it being made at all without any real money and resources being built into creating it. There's other software that, like Enscape or Fuser, Autodesk Live, that do offer these one-click solutions for these visualization projects. But Stingray, as a game engine, offers the limitless interactivity with the node-based scripting that you will not see in Autodesk Live or Fuser or Enscape. So this is a demonstration of what Autodesk Live has to offer. Models provided by Patterson Dental. Huge shout out to Scott Regals for allowing us to use these for this demonstration. So this is Autodesk Live. First, we go into Revit, and this is something that you should all be pretty familiar with. It's a 3D view inside of Revit. If you install the Autodesk Live plugin, you'll see it just comes in the Add-ins tab, the Go Live plugin. And when you click this button and you click Go, it'll create this executable for you that is the inside. This is the inside of the model. This is what Autodesk Live shows us now. This is 100% interactive. You know, I can walk around, I can move, I can look at whatever I want, and all the materials, most of the materials actually show up pretty good. And you know, this is what you would deliver to your client. They could open this up on their computer or their tablet or something, and they have this complete experience of walking around and moving, and you know, they can move around this building, and some of the doors will even open. If you walk up to them, you'll see maybe, yeah, see the door will open when you walk up to it. So it offers this kind of canned interactivity, but it still looks pretty good, and it's very simple. It's literally just one click out after you have your Revit model here. But if you want to make any changes, say you show that to your client, and they say, yeah, but you know, I don't really like those chairs, or maybe the cabinet should move, or I don't really like the material on this. You have to go back inside of Revit, make those changes, go live again, which the process can take a couple minutes to create these models and create this executable here. And it's not truly live. You know, you have to create these individual files one at a time and go back into Revit to edit them and things like that. It's not truly live. Versus Stingray, we have the same model opened up here in Stingray. Now, for a lot of you, this is your first time inside of a game engine at all. You're probably wondering, what are all these things? You know, what's this sphere thing going on here? So we'll get into that. First off, this is the level viewport. This is the editing window. Anything I change inside of this window will reflect in the final build, which is essentially, you know, a game. When you create this and then export it to your client, they're going to be playing your, you know, quote-unquote game. So in the level editor here, if I were to change any of the materials, it's as simple as dragging and dropping them onto the object I want to change it to. So the walls I could change to a darker color if I have this material set up here, or if I wanted to go back to the kind of yellowish material, I could change the, you know, anything really. It's 100% editable, and then when you click play here, this is what your client would be seeing, what they would be playing. So this window is what your client would be playing. And you can see it's very similar to what Live had to offer. You can walk around, and if we were to create the doors opening and closing, we could do so. One of the things that I had set up for this project, this little room here, you'll see has some pieces. You can click on them here, and when you walk inside, you'll notice that the lights turn on. It might be a little hard to notice on this screen, so we'll try and go slow, but you'll see when you walk in here, the lights turn on. You walk out, the lights turn off. That's something that I had set up on my own for this demonstration that you could not do inside of Live or Enscape or Fuser. So if we kind of get into how did that actually happen? So how does Stingray create these interactive pieces, these components? Well, you'll see there's this huge yellow volume that isn't present when you click play. The huge yellow volume is known as a trigger. So yeah, you'll see it's gone right here. It's not visible. Same with those reflecting spheres aren't here either. But the trigger is an invisible object that I said to basically, when you walk into it, turn on the light. And that script is right here in this little node section. And to break it all down, it's basically when the level is turned on, first it'll hide the mesh for the light because that's not what you want to see. And second, it will enable that trigger. Now when you touch the trigger, it enables the light here. And what light is it? Oh, it's this light that we have right here. The unit, this is the light unit. When you touch it, it enables the light. And when it's untouched, it enables the light false. It turns off the light, basically. So what normally in other game engines like Unity or Unreal, when you'd have to type out line for line, what the script would do, this could be, half a page worth of text, but it's all boiled down into these easy-to-read nodes that truly anybody can understand. There's tons and tons of documentation. If I were to click on this here, it would bring you straight to the Autodesk's documentation of what that node does, what it means, what do the connections have to do with anything. Everything is really well documented for Stingray because it's an Autodesk product. So another little bit of interactivity. You're probably wondering what these little blue cubes are. This is something that I had added for this demonstration. And again, I can't stress enough that this is truly, you can do whatever you want with the interactive bits. But here, you'll notice when you highlight the little blue cube here, it turns green, meaning that you can click on it. When you click on it, you'll notice that the cabinets change. Well, here, we'll walk inside it, turn on the light, make it a little bit easier to see. When you click on this blue cube, it'll change the chairs. So this is just something that shows, what do you want this room to really look like? It's something you can offer your client as they walk through these rooms saying, I like this cabinet, but I want to change this wood material. I like these chairs, but I want something a little bit more with the equipment attached. Well, here's a chair with the equipment attached. And once again, this is just something super basic that I had set up for this demonstration. You could literally do anything inside of Stingray if you wanted to, show a flyover, pretend that they're in a helicopter viewing this building from above, from overhead. You can set that up if you wanted to. Say when you click on the button, it changes the material color instead of the cabinetry itself. It just changes the material. You can set that up. And again, anything that you change in the editor here reflects in the final build. So it's as simple as dragging and dropping the material on there, and it'll change the material. Super simple. Or maybe I want to change it back to like a generic one, anything like that. This cube, maybe if you want the cube to turn orange instead of green when you highlight it, you can change that. It's truly 100% editable. Versus what we saw on Autodesk Live, where you only get that sort of canned perspective of interactivity. So that sort of demonstrates the differences between what Stingray and Live has to offer. Now, we kind of get into this workflow of how did I get there? How can you get there? That's simple. If you've never been into a game engine before, it might be very confusing at first. Obviously, it's very confusing. But we're going to kind of break it down and see how you can get from BIM inside of inside of Revit here to an interactive object inside of a game engine. So when you're inside of Revit, You just have to make sure you're in a 3D view, and if you have 3ds Max, you can use the built-in exporter, which is something that they've added in more recent versions of Revit and 3ds Max. And we do have a tutorial video on CTC's YouTube website on a whole demonstration on how to get from Revit to 3ds Max. But essentially, it boils down to the Suite Workflows tab and any one of these three options. Send the 3ds Max to Stingray, 3ds Max for interior or exterior rendering. These three buttons essentially do the same thing. They bundle up everything you have in the 3D view here, and then it sends it to 3ds Max. So when you get inside of 3ds Max, you'll notice that some of the materials didn't show up from Revit, and that's fine because we need to recreate the materials inside of Stingray anyways. And what we can do inside of 3ds Max, once we get this far, well, first off, we need to connect to our Stingray project. And again, this is something that is new to some of the 2015, 2016 3ds Max versions. It comes with this little Stingray tab. The first thing you want to do is connect to your project. So right now I'm already connected, but you just click this button and it connects to Stingray essentially. And now I can make any sort of selection, and I can hit send selection or I can hit send all, and once I do that, it just automatically pops up inside of Stingray here. We'll see if we navigate to where I exported the model. All the little pieces in this little preview window here just came straight from 3ds Max using the send selection button. Now you can also create the materials inside of 3ds Max, or you can create the materials inside of Stingray. That's where the materials, to replace the Revit materials, it's optional inside of Stingray, or inside of 3ds Max rather, but you can create them inside of 3ds Max. Now this isn't a 3ds Max tutorial, this is an introduction to Stingray, so I'm not going to get into so much what the specific processes you need to do in 3ds Max. If you want, we can make future tutorial videos on how to do some of these things, what the, attach and detach, what should I attach and detach. Essentially, you just want it to be in simplified objects. Like a chair should be one object, all the walls should be one object. It's kind of something that's a little different to wrap your head around, and it's not the topic of this demonstration. So once we have everything we need sent to Stingray, then it's just as simple as dragging and dropping them into the scene, which if we back out here, we can I'll show you, this is the office room, and you can see right there it is. I can if I zero it out its translate and everything, you'll see it shows up right in that room, right where it's supposed to be, from inside of Revit to 3ds Max to Stingray. And then once you have that, then you can start applying the materials, which you can create inside of Stingray here. You just create standard material. We'll just create one right now just for a quick demonstration. So I created a standard material. I call it material 3 here. Let's just change the color just to show what it can do. Change it to a lovely green color. But right away I can just put this on anything and change it to be green. And that's how easy it is to create materials inside of Stingray. You can also enter in a color map, the texture information that you can see on this kind of wood paneling we got going on here. If you wanted the color map, these other various maps allow the material to render as beautiful as possible inside of the game, inside of Stingray here. And that's essentially a whole workflow. Going from Revit to 3ds Max, you make sure the model is at 0, 0, 0, and then send to Stingray. And then inside of Stingray, it'll import automatically, and you can start applying materials and moving it around. So, in conclusions of this demonstration, Stingray will allow to deliver a better product and will truly expand your possibilities with limitless interactive bits. Anything you can think of, you can create anything you want your client to be able to view or do or interact with. Basically, if you can think it, you can create it inside of Stingray versus Live or Fuser.
Great, thanks, Keeper. We've got a couple questions. We do have some time for questions, so keep submitting them into the question queue. First question is, what is the latest version of Stingray?
What I have installed right now is 1.53, I believe. And if you need to check for updates, if say you already have like 1.0 installed, you can do the help check for updates here, and it'll bring you to the Autodesk Stingray download. So yeah, this is 1.5.863 is what I have installed.
Great, thank you. Quick question, another question that came in is, how can we send the Stingray version to clients?
Yep, that's something that we can definitely get into in a future demonstration. You would essentially go to Window, and then Deploy and Connect, and the deployer is what would allow you to create a build that could be run on, say, a computer like a Mac or a PC, or even if you could somehow upload it to the PlayStation network, you could run it on a video game station or something like that.
Okay, is that interactive then?
Yeah, so yeah, what they would be playing is what you see when you click play here.
Oh, great.
So yeah, this is what your client would be doing then. They would have complete control over walking around this model and clicking on whatever you set up for them to click on.
Got it. Does Stingray have the same standard Autodesk material library?
That it does not. The material library from Revit, sending it to 3ds Max, you can render the materials and you see them there, the architectural material library. But materials inside of a game engine are just too different right now. There isn't any one-step converter that I know of, at least, to convert architecture materials into game engine materials. But the material creator inside of Stingray really couldn't be any simpler. As long as you have the the JPEG, the texture information, which you can get inside of Revit. If you went to the Manage Materials tab, you can look up any of the materials you have inside of Revit and find the color information associated to that model. And then once you have that, you can drag and drop them into your project. And if we can navigate to where I put the materials, come on.
So then, does it talk back to Revit? Is it a two-way communication or just a one-way communication?
It's just a one-way communication.
Okay. All right, so we've got a couple questions around...
These are all the textures I have.
Oh, wow. That's actually really cool.
So yeah, this is just, I grabbed this image straight out of Revit, just dropped it in here, and then assigned it to the color channel of some of the materials, and then that's how the material edits.
Very nice.
What were you asking?
All right, we've got a couple questions regarding VR. Is this supported around VR goggles like the beta on Live?
It is, yep, fully supported. So that would go into when you create the build and send the actual executable to your clients, you can set up at that point the VR capabilities. But yes, to answer your question simply, yes, Stingray does allow for VR capabilities.
Great. Anybody have any more questions? I'm going to give you guys another minute or so to submit some more questions. And then So, Keeper, I do have one question for you. What do you like most about Stingray?
I like that it's constantly challenges you to want to do more. I don't know, for me at least, I love creating these experiences for other people to enjoy, and sort of the attention to detail and how easy it is to kind of fall in love with this sort of stuff, for me at least, that's what I like most about it.
Very nice. Okay, we do have one other question is, what makes this better than Unity or Unreal?
Well, because this is falls under that Autodesk umbrella, it has the Maya LT, and I think 3ds Max has a light version too that allows you to speak with Unity and Unreal with the sort of same one-touch functionality. But Stingray has also the level flow scripting editor, and it also allows, like, if you'd rather be able to script with just typing down lines of code, you can do that inside of Stingray, and you can also do the scripting editor here. It's very similar. At the end of the day, they're both game engines. They both create a similar product, like a final end product, a deliverable, but it's just sort of the way they go about doing it is different. And I don't know, I think Stingray is very intuitive. It's still very new. I'm very excited to see, a year from now, the updates that they have available. And then we can see some more actual differences, like key point differences between Unity or Unreal.
Great. You mentioned in the beginning about sound. Can you add sound? How does that work?
Yep. Audio is also, you can also control audio with the level flow scripting here. If you right click here, you can see there is audio. It uses the WWise audio format, and there's all sorts of nodes you can create to stop playing the sound, triggering the sound. It's you're essentially building a game. So if you think of any sort of AAA title video game with all the special effects and the particles going on the spaceships and whatever, Stingray is also capable of creating those same experiences.
That's very cool. All right. Do you have the ability to edit the light fixtures to display properly in Stingray from Revit?
So to edit the
light fixtures to display properly in Stingray from Revit. So is there editability?
So that would be another thing. The Revit lighting setup, it doesn't export the actual lighting information. It only exports the 3D geometry. So creating the lights would also be something you would do inside of Stingray. And there's a couple different lighting options here if you wanted. For instance, here these are all just basic omnidirectional point lights, but they also have like a spotlight, or there's a directional light for how the sun reacts. Like this one up here is technically the sun. So the lighting setup would have to be set up and would have to be created inside of Stingray.
Great. Okay, so quick question about, can you send the project to a smartphone and then place that into a VR headset?
Oh. As long as the technology is capable, then Stingray is also. Because if we go here, we'll load up just quickly. The texture manager shows you this is the platforms that Stingray is capable of exporting to. So you'll see on here Android and iOS is an option. There's also the PlayStation, if you're going, or an Xbox, or the WebGL or Windows computer. So these are all of the known export abilities that I know of, at least, or that I can see.
Can it export to phasing?
Phasing.
I'm not quite sure. Hey, Daniel, can you send us an email with what you were asking for about phasing? Oh, it's phasing from Revit.
I haven't tried that, actually.
Well, we'll get back to you on that one,
Yeah, that
Daniel.
would be something I would actually be interested in trying out because for this project I didn't try to do that.
Yeah, and we'll look into that and we'll respond back to you. Yes. Okay. Great. Any other questions? I'll give you guys another quick minute. As just a reminder, the session is being recorded. It will be up on our CTC YouTube page in the next couple of days. Well, with that, thank you so much, Kiefer. Yeah, we also offer private demos on Stingray, so just contact CTC. And thank you so much, Kiefer, for taking time out to demo on us. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, guys.